All right, good morning. Welcome to today's open forum. Very glad to have you guys here today. Unusual for me to send you guys the slideshow, the slide deck, but the reason I did that today is because you can use this with your clients. And I designed this where I can both go through it with you. It's not so much a training as it is a guide to go through the process with them. And you can even share this with them. If you need to edit it, you can do that as well and edit it and share it with them. So I also gave you guys a checklist, which is a very simple way to do that. It's a very pared down way to do this. But you can go through this with your clients. I get so many questions from you guys about what to do with this land stuff. And I know you're confused, and it's a whole different business from what you're doing normally. It's a lot different from selling a house, isn't it? Give me a head nod if it's a lot different from selling a house. It is. And you guys are confused and you feel like there's a lot of liability here. I have once a year, one of you guys tells me your client's upset because they thought they could build something on their property that they couldn't. It happens, right? We probably don't sell a lot of vacant lots that turn into homes. I do get questions about vacant lot contracts and what to do and what your steps are. And I thought I would give you guys a guide to this so you can guide your clients through this. So what this is going to do, I guess I'll just get into it, but what it's going to do is it's going to break down what you're responsible for or how to guide and you're not responsible for a lot, but what you are responsible for, in my opinion, ethically, is to put your clients on the right path. If you're going to make a commission selling them a property, you ought to at least be putting them on the right path to success in what they're trying to do. So what this is going to do is going to take you through there. I'm very pleased with it. It's going to take you through this. It can tell you what the client's responsible for, what the builder's responsible for. Of course, the builder will know that because that's their business, but it's going to telling the client, you're not going to, and it's going to tell them what they should expect from you and what they should expect from the builder. It's more of a client guide, but it's also an agent guide. Obviously, the builder doesn't need it. So let's go through this. It's taken from a vacant lot to a custom home, the playbook, the plan of how you're going to do that. Get back on the right page here. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Big picture and decision gates. And what a decision gate is just where we decide, are we going forward or are we not? There'll be several times you decide this through this process. Are we going forward or are we not? Roles and responsibilities. That's what I just talked to you guys about. Pre-screening the land before you even bother with the contract and going through all of that, the escrow and all that stuff, and spending money, because this does take money. It's more than just an inspection or an appraisal that your client will have to pay for. It's going to be due diligence testing, soil testing, this, that. It could be all kinds of things, or it could be very simple, and we'll go through that. Oh, well, didn't mean to do that. There we go. Offer terms and contract protections. That's where we'll talk about the due diligence period, et cetera. Here in Florida, we do have some, and this is Florida specific, but we do have some very simple things to do on our vacant land contracts. Your due diligence deep dive, your financing and permits and construction realities, your knowledge check and handout. The handout is the checklist that I sent you guys as well. Okay. In timeline, your client will have a plan. You talk to them about your budget, financing path, must-haves for their lot. You find them the land. You guys seem to know this, how to do this stuff. They obviously have an idea of what they want. The contract, that's what you guys usually call me for, how to write that and how to protect them. The due diligence, that's what we'll talk about, survey and septic and soil and wetlands and utilities verification. This is Florida specific, in that a lot of, well, everybody has to worry about wetlands if it's near the wet, but we have so many of it here in Florida that we have different wetlands protections that we have to take care of that some other states don't. Some, I'll say, higher and drier states don't. The builder and plans, how to work with the builder a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't go that much into the builder, and the builder will have their own presentation they'll go through with the buyer, the customer. Permits and fees, that also the builder, a lot of those will go through with the builder as well. Construction, obviously the builder, and the closeout, obviously the builder. A lot of the stuff is from number 5 on is mostly going to be with the builder. But what we're doing here in this, what your job with this client is to let them know what is the builder's responsibility and what's theirs. One thing I see you guys getting is way too involved in the due diligence process. You don't want that responsibility. It's not your expertise. This all needs to be, the client needs to understand this is on them. Okay. This is This is the client's responsibility. You're going to help them however you can. All right. And I also realize a lot of times you guys are making, $4,000 on this deal. You're not, getting rich from this deal. You need to make sure that they know what is their responsibility and what is yours. Because the last thing you want to do is make $2,500 and get sued, right? Or be named in some lawsuit or something like that. And what we want to do is, and it doesn't matter how much you're making. What matters is that you're doing a good job for them. But this is not your job. You are not a due diligence expert. I don't think any of you guys have ever delineated wetlands or done wetland mitigation or any of that kind of stuff. That's not your job. You're not getting paid for that. You're finding the property. You're walking through the process. That's all that can be expected of you. But this is, I think you guys will agree, if you go through this with your client, you're going to be going above and beyond, and your client's going to know that, right? And that's what you want to do as a good real estate agent, is go above and beyond. So decision gates, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is where you decide. Gate 1, pre-screen. This can be a simple visit to the local zoning, the local city hall or county commission or county hall about zoning. What's allowed? Does it allow single SFR, single family residential? Does it allow what they're trying to build? And I don't care, whatever they're trying to build, does it allow that? They might be trying to build a quadplex. They might be trying to build, it could be more commercial stuff like apartments or condominiums or something. Make sure it's going to cover what they want to buy. Legal access and frontage. We've had these issues as well as utilities and septic well. Septic or well can be used and the path exists. So make sure they have their utilities. Almost everywhere is going to have power if it even has a dirt road, but make sure it has everything that they need. A lot of these things that we're going to go through, if it's in an HOA already, if it's got a house on each side of it, it's obviously going to pass these tests because you can build a house there, right? But you just want to make sure, we're going to talk about this, make sure that the house that they want to build is going to fit on the lot, right? And that the setbacks aren't too much. If they want to build a 5,000 square foot house, you can't put them on a 50-foot wide lot, right? Or maybe you can, and they're going to have to build up, but just make sure that you can build what they want to build. And that's their responsibility. You don't control what they build. Also, you guys, if you've done this kind of thing before, or even if you sold a house before, what the client tells you when they first meet you and they want to build or buy isn't always what they want to build or buy. We've talked about this a lot. They might start with they want a 4.3 in Windermere, and they end up buying a 3.2 in Pine Hills because they find out what their money will cover, right? And it's the same way with construction. What they think they can build and afford to build might be different from what they actually build, or they might just change their mind. When they start going through these, you'll find when you start going through these and they get that initial, and you do this with new homes, they get that initial price from the builder, and then they go to the design center and all the finishes they want, they can't afford that house anymore, right? So they want to spend 150 grand in a design center. Well, there goes what they can spend on the house. So you want to make sure all that stuff matches up. So you don't know what they want to build exactly, so put that on them. Then it's their decision to change their mind about buying the lot or not based on what fits there and what they want to build. And you know what? You guys have done this before, and they end up just buying a new home from a new home builder, or they end up buying an existing home because there's like, this is too much. We're already about to get divorced and we haven't even, broken ground, right? So the contract, the contingencies match the unknown. Now we have what we call a due diligence period. That is exactly like an inspection. Well, I say not exactly. It's not exactly like the inspection period, but the idea is exactly the same. For any reason during that due diligence period, they can back out. Okay. So all of these decisions that we're talking about, you want to make the due diligence period long enough to where they can get through all of these decision gates and still back out of the contract if it doesn't fit their needs. Okay. But the easy one is it have zoning? The second one is, does it have utilities? Can we even build something here? And that's on the same visit. They'll know all that at the city or county office, what's there. Enough inspection period to run the test. That's what we just talked about. The results. Okay. Survey, easements acceptable. Is everything going to work? The wetlands and flood constraints acceptable. They got to be able to finance this thing. They don't want to be, waking up in July when we had a big rainstorm the night before with water in their house because of flood. They've got to make sure all of that is going to be, if it's high and dry enough. Or a lot of lots aren't. They don't just give up then. They talk to the builder about the site work because they can bring in dirt. You guys see all these trucks with dirt going down the highway? That's what they're doing. They're moving dirt from one site to another so they can build something. All right. A lot of times, I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of times they get that dirt for free. because I mean, they're going to charge you for moving it, but they get it for free because there's another site that has to get rid of dirt. So that's when you see all those dirt trucks and they're going down the 408 and they're dropping rocks on your windshield. That's what they're doing. Okay. So site work can be done and can improve things. Let's say improve them. It can make them high and dry enough to build a home. You see homes in neighborhoods, you can tell they built the thing up. They've got steep driveways. They built up the pad for the house to sit on. And you know some houses will never get flooded because they're sitting 10 feet above the road. And you have to pull into their driveway and worry about your bumper hitting the ground, right? So you see a lot of that stuff, and a lot of stuff is built into hills. Now, mostly that's going to be like in your mid-Florida areas. Like if you've done stuff in Claremont or something like that, you see the big hills all the way down to, past Davenport and all that. And in Ocala, you see huge hills, and they're beautiful, and it reminds you of other states. But there's a ridge down the center of the state where you don't have to worry about that as much. But a lot of stuff, if you're east of Orlando or west of Claremont, you see a lot of flat stuff. Okay, soils and septic, feasibility, financing, and finding the builder and making sure their budget is approved and everything else. Did I lose you guys still see it? There it is. I see a lot of stuff moving around. And the permitting path is realistic, etc. So that's all going to be with the builder. So you're going to want to meet with the builder. I've had you guys get all the way through due diligence and not met with a builder yet. You've got to have the builder on board and making sure that they can build what you want to build too, because the city can't tell you they can build it. They can tell you that, but then if it's on a slope or it's sitting too low or whatever, the builder is going to tell you, yes, we're going to need that, but it's going to cost you $85,000 just to bring dirt in. Dirt's not cheap. Moving it's not cheap. A lot of times it's not cheap. You pay by the yard for either moving it. Sometimes you have to buy it and move it. Sometimes the builder has a buddy who's selling it and he doesn't tell you that, and he's getting paid the whole thing. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that it fits the budget. So we're going to talk about here shortly what to do with the buyer. Okay, here it is, roles and responsibilities. The client, budgeting and priorities. You're going to sit down with them the first time and talk about all that stuff. They're going to select a builder. You're going to get some estimates, right? Builders will come out and give you estimates. They do it for free because they make lots of money when they build your house. So they'll go out and give you estimates. They probably only get to build one house for every 5 or 10 estimates that they do, because a lot of times they're one of 3 or 4 or 5 people bidding on it. And then half the time the person doesn't build, right? They give up on it. So be prepared for that when they find out all the numbers, that sometimes it shocks them. Typically, just for an overarching theme of this, typically it is cheaper to buy land and build a house than it would be to buy a finished house from someone else. There's typically some built-in equity when they get done. Can be a headache, as you'll see here, and it's a lot of work. It's a little bit of work for you. It's a lot of work for the client and obviously the builder. But the builder is going to make their money, and there's still profit involved, okay? Or I should say built-in equity. So they're going to select the builder, their plan, the financing. They're going to make sure all that stuff lines up. They're going to pay for due diligence and make all the decisions. That's what's on the client. That's a lot of stuff there. It's their ultimate decision, all of this is. Okay, the agent, you're going to pre-screen the lots for them. You're already doing that. You're going to write protected offer terms. That's just pretty much getting them the due diligence that they need to make sure they can get everything done. And yes, you can negotiate to extend that. I will tell you guys this, when you're buying the lot from people, it's not like a home. If a home is listed for $500,000, you're not going to offer $380 typically, right? Because that's insulting. They're never going to sell it for that. But vacant land sits. And vacant land is priced, it's hard to get comps for it. A lot of times the seller will just throw a number out there. I'd like to get 400 grand, so let's throw it out there for 500 grand, right? Or whatever it is. Or I'd like to get 100, let's throw it out there for 150. So don't be afraid of insulting people for vacant land. They didn't raise their kids on that vacant land in a tent. They're not attached to it. They don't think it's better than their neighbor's vacant land down the street. Sometimes they do, but they don't, it's just vacant land. They're not usually, their heartstrings are not attached to it. Don't be afraid to offer way less and negotiate. Okay. And they will typically extend your due diligence or stuff because they don't get offers every day. You guys have sold vacant land. It's not easy to sell. There's not tons of buyers because people don't want to go through this process, so they can't afford to. A lot of times there's a lot of cash involved. These are going to be higher end properties. Very few people are out there, buying if somebody's out there buying a $25,000 lot and building a house, that's a builder. It's not typically a person coming in to build a custom home. People don't typically build custom homes on $25,000 lots, right? They build them on $300,000, $500,000 lots or $150,000 lots. So you're typically working with that, and they will typically extend your due diligence. And so you're just pushing along your client. You want this deal to close, or you want them to make a decision either way. And you're going to keep the lender and the title company and the builder aligned. The title company comes along later, but the lender and the builder and the client all need to be on the same page throughout the process. And look, there's money in it for the builder. There's money in it for the lender, and the client wants to build a house. Everybody wants to be engaged. It's not hard to do to keep them all on the same page. You're just going to keep them in the loop. Just don't disappear. Stay there. Protect your client all the way through. Help your client all the way through. The builder responsibility, feasibility input, and site assumptions. And that's where we're talking about the dirt and all that kind of stuff, the site work, the budget and schedule, the permits and construction execution. That's all their job. You don't need to get involved in that. Don't tell the builder how to do their job. And you'll be fine. Step 1, client questions. This is what I love. Here's where we go all in here on their budget, land and build and site work and contingencies. A lot of them don't know a lot about this. Okay, some of them have built a house before and they might not remember it because it was 15 years ago, right? But a lot of them haven't. Most of them haven't. It's probably pretty typical. You do this once in your life and you kind of learn your lesson after that and say, you know what, the $50,000 of equity we had, or $100,000 of equity, wasn't even worth this. This was a job for a year and I already have a job, right? And make sure they understand the timeline of this, and the builder could tell them that, and always add a little bit to it, because the builder's trying to sell houses. They're going to kind of puff it up a little bit, what they can do. Kind of like when you talk to a lender about how soon you can close a deal, and they always say 30 days. And at 30 days, you're asking for an extension. So they want to sell the deal. So they're going to maybe sugarcoat a little bit what they can do or exaggerate what they can do. HOA or architectural rules, okay, or must avoid. If what they want to do, they might have to avoid an HOA, right? Or they might have to, because they want to put they want to put their RV under one of those big RV things. So there's certain areas they can buy and certain areas they can't. Utilities. Do they need to have public water and sewer, or are they okay with well and septic? Timeline. When do you want to break ground? When do you want to have a finished product? How custom is custom? That's what I talked about earlier. When they start going through, a regular custom builder is not going to have so much of a design center. Obviously, they might take you through a spec home they're building right now, or a home they're building for another client right now, and you can go through and look at some of their finishes and stuff like that. Well, not you, but the buyer. You can too, but the buyer can. And they're going to end up spending more money. So make sure how sensitive their budget is to upgrades. You want to let them know, look, if you want the granite and the hardwood and the this and the that, or whatever's hot right now, make sure that you can afford that on top of what the builder is going to tell you for basic. The builder will give you a price for basic. They'll say, look, I can build this house for $140 a square foot with basic stuff, right? But if you want to do something fancy, it's going to be $200 a foot, or $250 a foot, or $300. You can spend as much as you want. I promise you. They'll make it as fancy as you want. Financing, cash, land loan, construction to perm. You got to figure that out with the lender and with the buyer. And what they'll do, your buyer will meet with their lender, and they'll tell them this. A lot of times the buyer will pay cash for the lot. The lot's not too expensive. It's $100,000, something like that. $70,000, $150,000, $300,000, whatever. They might pay cash for that. Or sometimes the builder buys the lot and does it that way. And the builder gets drawdowns from the bank as they go. That is something you'll negotiate with the builder, with the bank, and with the buyer. Notes to share with the client. Set expectations early. Land is cheap until site work isn't. They might find a really cheap land, but it might be sitting lower, and they got to bring in $100,000 worth of dirt. They might as well have bought the other lot, right? That was $70,000 more expensive. Permitting and selections often take longer than the build itself. They can build a house in a couple of months if they put their mind to it, and the builder is going to get what they call draws, which means every time they finish they hit a certain landmark on building the home, they poured the foundation, they built the frame, they did whatever, they're going to get money from the bank for that, a percentage of the money from the bank for that to cover their expenses for the next part. So they are incentivized to finish. And then they get a big chunk, obviously, when the CO happens, certificate of occupancy, which means you can live there. Means they can close the loan, close the sale, and close the loan. So they are incentivized to move, and they will build the house fairly quickly. It's the permitting and the other stuff that can be a drain on time. All right, Florida land pre-screen. Legal and physical. Is it a legal lot with legal access? Sometimes they buy these infill, well, not infill lots. It's not, they're landlocked lots. Sometimes they buy, and they don't have legal access to them. So you want to make sure they do obviously if it's on a street or something already, if it's in the HOA already, it's going to be fine. Frontage and driveway feasibility. Make sure if they're on a main road. My first house I ever bought was on Fairbanks in Winter Park. The speed limit was 50. When I pulled out of my driveway, it was not a nice house. It was my first house. It was $64,000. When I pulled out of my driveway, I had to be going darn close to 50 very soon. So make sure, and so at certain points, they won't let you build if you don't have enough frontage on the road. They won't let you build. So make sure that you can do that has the feasibility there. Topography, drainage, red flags. That's the level of the lot. Is it below? Some of these are at zero sea level, right? And some of them are higher than that, but they have wetlands issues. And make sure that it's not on too big of a hill. I had that with the lot that I was going to build on. It was so sloped that I couldn't build the size house that I wanted to build. And there was so much dirt that had to be moved. Setbacks, coverage, height, make sure that they can build. Like I said, if they want to build that 5,000 square feet on a 50-foot lot, they're going to have to go 3 stories high. Make sure they can build up to a lot of jurisdictions have like a 35-foot height limit, and that's for fire and stuff like that. So their fire truck can only go 35 feet or whatever it is, or if it's in an HOA. HOA and architectural review restrictions, if any. If it's in an HOA, they're going to have all that. Make sure it meets all the things that you want to do. The finishes all meet the motif and stuff in the neighborhood that it fits, right? If I'm in a neighborhood now, if I want to paint my door a different color, I have to get it reviewed by the ARC. Oh, sorry. Water. Is it in a flood zone? Obviously, insurance, elevation certificates, etc. Wetlands indicators. Stormwater constraints, meaning stormwater is rain runoff and stuff like that. Utilities, power distance and cost. Do they have to run power lines? Do they have to run sewer lines and stuff like that? Sometimes it's worth it to run them if the land was cheap enough. It's not super, super expensive. And you can do pioneering agreements, which is where if I build it a quarter mile of this, but other people buy lots in between, they have to pay me back when they attach to it. They have to pay me back what I spent on it, percentage wise. Sewer versus septic, internet availability, rural buyers care. Nowadays with satellite and stuff like that, it's not as much. Okay, offer terms that protect build feasibility. You want to make sure these are in your offer. Inspection period, feasibility, long enough to order survey and septic and soil and wetlands review. The right to cancel for build feasibility issues. Obviously, that's in our due diligence period. Title and survey review. All of this stuff. Obviously, title is going to get back to you quickly with that. And you're going to have to get it surveyed. Absolutely. You can't build on anything you haven't gotten surveyed. If they have a recent survey, you can get it recertified. Easements, access, builder will know about that. Easements, access, restrictions, encroachments, legal description, accuracy. That all should come from title. Utilities contingency when needed. Power availability and cost confirmation. This is all stuff we just talked about. All of these things. Perk and soil evaluation. So they do have to do soil tests to make sure that your soil will drain, that your water will drain. Well permit, pathway, and anticipated depth and cost. Financing and appraisal. Okay. So the appraisal, that's typically not a problem on these, especially if they're paying cash for the land, obviously, but they'll have to have a future value, I forget what it's called, FVAA or something like that, for a future value appraisal when it's the built appraisal. What will it be worth? If we build this house, you give them the plans and they say, if you build this house on this lot, it's going to be worth X amount. As long as that makes sense for the construction perm financing. Usually, like I said, these are not people who are spending their last dollar, and this is not that big of an issue for them. And there's always almost always built-in equity, unless they spend too much on the finishes and stuff. Almost always built-in equity, so the appraisal is not a problem. You have to match the lender timelines. Construction loans take longer. They have draws, etc. The draws is what I was talking about when they pay the builder for how far they've gotten along. Each time they hit a milestone, they pay them. Okay. Offer language mindset. What agents should say: we're not buying land, we're buying a buildable home site. When they say that, saying that to your client, right? We'll verify build feasibility during the inspection period with the right professionals. Yes, we don't just go out and look at it and say, boy, it looks high and dry. You have to have it actually done by a professional. And that costs money. You have what we call environmental engineers who have to go out there and look at it. You have to make sure, we call bugs and bunnies reports. You have to make sure there's no protected species on there that you can't build. If there's the beautiful eagle's nest in the middle of your lot, guess what? That's the eagle's house. It's not yours, and you can't build there. The eagle decides where you can build and can't build. If the lot can't support the plan or the site work, it blows the budget, we exit before the deadline. Let them know that this costs money. We're going to find out these things, just like an inspection is, but that's only $400 or $500 that you're paying now for an inspection, or maybe $1,000 if it's a big home or you want a fancy inspection. You're going to spend more than that on this land. This is a higher risk, but a higher reward, because you're going to have at the end, typically 6 figures of built-in equity if they're building a nice home there. Document everything in writing. Avoid verbal assurances. Obviously, stay out of hot water. Put all this stuff in writing. These things, even put them in writing. And you're going to go over this, and they're going to go over this with you. And I don't care if you have to do it on a Zoom call and record it, right? So they can play it back later. Let them know I'm recording this so you can play it back later. But it's also going to protect you, because you're going to let them know what they have to do. Must have survey, boundary and topo if possible. Topo is a topography survey to let you know how high the land sits. In Florida, you want that every time. Title commitment and easements review, obviously from the title company. Those things are usually needed. Oh, these are usually needed. Depends on the lot. Sorry, the font here didn't come through. Soils and geotech. That is soil testing. Make sure the lot is it's not muck, built on muck. We have a lot of that in Florida. We have where your house will sink. You guys see that Florida shifts anyway. That's why you all have cracks in the side of your house, because Florida shifts. That we're built on the land here. We are on top of limestone and aquifers and stuff like that. And this sugar sand that is here in Central Florida, especially, and all of Florida, it shifts. And that's why you hear when you hear the compacting, when people are building, you feel the whole earth shake, because they're compacting the ground. They're trying to make it steady enough to build on and eliminate some of that shift. Septic evaluation and design. If there's no sewer, obviously sewer is easy. You just hook up with the sewer, costs money, but you hook up with the city sewer. They call hookup fees for doing that. But you want to make sure that the septic sits high enough and you have a big enough drain field, et cetera, to put septic in if there's no sewer available. That's more rural areas typically. Well feasibility and permit pathway. If there's no public water, like city water or something like that, then they'll put in a well, and you look at the feasibility of that. Make sure we can drill down not too far to get to that aquifer. Okay. Often overlooked: wetland screening and delineation, stormwater requirements. That makes sure that any rain that hits my lot, I can't just build higher than my neighbors. So I have 2 neighbors in an HOA or something. I can't just build my house higher and let all my water run off onto their lots. I can't do that. It's not nice, and they won't let you. It's been done before. Like any of these rules, it's because people have abused it before and done it. And so you're sitting here on your lot, and your lot's high and dry and fine until your neighbors on each side build theirs up higher, and now all their rainwater comes onto mine and floods my lot. Driveway and culvert permitting, impact fees, tap fees, utility extensions. That's all the hookup fees and tap fees for the water. Budget control. Get site work ranges in writing before waiving contingencies. So a site contractor, your builder is going to hire a site contractor. It's a subcontractor. It's a site contractor, and they're going to hire them, and they're going to tell you, it should be about $30,000 in dirt work. Well, it turns out to be $100,000 because we miscalculated something, and now we're upside down in this house. We may break even if we do it right? If we skimp on some finishes, that ruins the whole deal. And just like anything else, it blows the budget. Okay, Florida agencies and who approves what? The city and the county. They approve the zoning confirmation, building permits, impact fees, The addressing, you guys have had this issue before. I've had you guys, so I don't have an address on this lot. I don't know how to sell it. Typically, that's why you see a lot of 0 Reams Road. And you're like, what address? What kind of address is that? That's not going to be their address when they build. It's not going to be their address when they build. It's their address now because it doesn't have a lot number. Nobody cares. The post office doesn't care. The city doesn't care yet until there's an actual house there. And it won't be 0. It'll be something else. Who the utility providers are. You want to contact them. Not you want to. The builder typically will contact them, or the client can contact them and find out, make sure that they will provide service there. Water and sewer capacity and taps, that's what you're asking them about. Power service, gas, if available, talking about natural gas. Water Management District, Department of Energy Protection, or Department of Environmental Protection. Water permitting, stormwater environmental resource permits where applicable. Health, and the Department of Environmental Protection for the septic. Septic system permit pathway. All these things, that's who approves what. You don't really need to know that except to where to send your client to get those confirmations, okay? Builders know this stuff, but you need to know that. That's part of the building license. Contractor's license. Okay, here we go. A realistic due diligence timeline, and this is a quick one. I would add to this. I would almost double this. So day 1 to 2, you open escrow, order title, book survey. You're going to be making your deposit with the title company, etc. Not you, the buyer. Builder feasibility input, utility calls, flood and wetland screening. Day 7 to 14, soil and septic evaluation. This is great for you guys to have just kind of what order things happen, right? And this is ordered from I tried to put this where it's spending the least money first, the cheaper gates first, right? Cheaper decisions first. Let's spend a couple $100 and see if this thing's even worth doing. Let's go for free. We're going to go down to the city or the county and make sure we can build what we want to build. And then the cheaper stuff comes first, and then the stuff that takes a little longer and takes a little more time comes after that. You're going to review the survey and easements, revise the site work budget. And this changes too. So if I'm building on a lake, I'm going to do the wetland stuff first because that's probably going to be our biggest decision maker, right? If I have an 1 acre lot on a lake, I'm going to do the wetland stuff first because I know we got plenty of land to build on. The one I told you I couldn't build on, we wanted to make sure we can build based on the topography of it because it was sloped. It was severely sloped down to a lake. Okay, so we wanted to make sure we could do that, and we couldn't build what we want. We would have had to build something smaller. Soil and septic evaluation, the well feasibility check if that's necessary, review the survey and easements, revise the site work budget, day 10 to 18, and then we're going to decide, are we going to proceed, renegotiate, cancel before the deadline? If you're going to build I'll just tell you this, if you're going to build in an HOA, I want 30 days due diligence just to make sure I can build the house I want to build and all this stuff. Because I know we've got utilities aren't a problem. DEP is probably not going to be a problem. There's probably water and sewer. If it's an older neighborhood, it's going to be, it might be on well and septic, but probably not. But, it depends on how rural it is. Find those things out. And that's as easy as finding out if the neighbors have septic or sewer, right? If it is a lot out in the middle of nowhere, there's no houses next to it, I'm going to want at least 45 to 60 days. And I've got to engage a builder to make sure we can build what we want to build. Okay. Access, no recorded, common Florida land red flags. Access, no recorded legal access. We talked about this before. If it's landlocked by other owners and there's no road directly to it, don't just assume I can build a road to it. I own it. No, there is such a thing as landlocked property that you can't build on, or you're going to have to pay for access from a neighbor. Road is private without maintenance agreements. You got to check for that. Wetlands and flooding. That means you're going to have to maintain the road. Wetlands and flooding, standing water, hydric vegetation. So if you walk on the back of a property and they've got the hydrillas and stuff like that, a lot of those, any like almost lily pad looking leaves, even the smaller ones, it's wet. Okay. Make sure the utilities, we already talked about that. If you have to run the power too far, it can be too expensive. If there's no clear water or sewer path and the septic and well are uncertain, if the property lies too low, they can't put in a septic because it's going to be below the water table. So make sure that that's the case because septics rely on draining. And if it's below the water table, it's not going to have anywhere to drain to. right? Easements across the best build area. Make sure you don't have easements, other people's easements across that property. A lot of properties you buy will have easements for other people who could be landlocked. Typically, when they make lots like that, they give easements. And make sure the easements aren't across where you want to build. Conservation or deed restrictions. Make sure you're not in a conservation area, obviously, or the deed restrictions don't keep you from building what you want to build. And the cost. That was with the field needed, the engineered drainage, the expensive driveways and culverts that you need for low lots or sloped lots. Financing. What agents need to know. The rest of it's not too important. That's why it's not on the screen. Land versus construction to perm. Different down payments and timelines. Builder must be lender approved. The realities of the appraisal. Vacant land appraisals can be tricky, but like I said, they're because there are no comps. You know, it's hard, or there's rarely any recent comps because vacant land doesn't just fly off the shelves, and there's not, you know, and they're so different. You know, where they are, the location makes so much difference. Construction draws require inspections and paperwork. Budget discipline, allowances and change orders can break deals. You guys know what change orders are because you've sold new homes before. Builders love to give you change. They don't love change orders because it means they have to go back and do stuff differently, but they love to charge for them. Always plan contingency for site work surprises, right? Builder selection, avoid apples to oranges quotes. Make sure, because this is for a lot of this stuff is for the client, not for you. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed with this stuff. That's why I sent you this thing so you can remember it and access it later. But this is for the buyer. All these things are for the buyer to do, to verify all these things and do all this stuff. It is work, but there, like I said, there's going to be, you guys are going to make, you know, your commission one time on selling it. They're going to make, and I know you guys, by the way, you also get to sell this to the builder. Work out with the builder that, hey, I'll bring you a client, but I get 3%, right? So you're getting paid for this stuff as well. And so that's why you're doing all this stuff, and you're going to hold their hand all the way through it too. You're also going to talk to the builder about getting paid, or you're not going to do it, right? And you're going to talk to your client about that. Say, I'm going to find you some builders to give you estimates. I'll handle all that kind of work. But you're going to require clarity on what's included and excluded, allowances and upgrade pricing, timeline assumptions and change order policy. That's with the builder, obviously. Make sure they're giving you apples to apples. Because yes, I can do it cheaper than the other guy. Oh, you want finishes? Oh, you don't want to be charged for change orders, or you want to have a limit on what you can be charged for change orders, etc. Watch for, that's what I was just saying, watch for low base price with unrealistic allowances. No line item for site work. Make sure site work is included. If it's included with one, make sure it's included with the other. Watch out for vague permitting responsibility. You don't want your client in charge of permitting if you can help it. If the builder is going to charge you for it, make sure they're doing it. Agent value add. Help client compare scopes and ask the right questions. This is where you come in. This is where you become a value add, is helping them compare scopes and ask the right questions. And that comes from being knowledgeable about this stuff. Okay, permitting and fees. What surprises buyers? Impact fees and utility tap connections fees vary by county and city. So what part of the apples to apples, you want to make sure that that the estimates you're getting include the impact fees and the tap fees and all this kind of stuff. If it's out the door turnkey, make sure it's turnkey with all of them. Okay. Impact fees. Anybody know what the impact fees are in the county where you work right now? I'm guarantee you they're 18,000 plus per house. And that's because you're impacting the schools, you're impacting this, that, supposed to allow them to buy it, to build more schools and build more roads, et cetera, for the impact that you're making in the community by building a new house. HOA and architectural review approvals can add weeks. As you guys know, if I want to paint my door today, I can't do it. I'm going to probably do it after the next HOA meeting if I'm lucky. Driveway culvert approvals can delay starts. Permitting cycles vary widely. Avoid promising dates before permits are in hand. So we talked about building in HOAs that have existing homes on both sides. Probably not going to have a hard time with your driveway and culvert approvals. You are going to have to do HOA approvals, but that can be done with all these other things. Once you decide you're going to buy it and you kind of have an idea what you're going to build, that can be done along with some of these the site work, et cetera. When I mean simultaneously with that, so it doesn't slow you down. Permitting cycles vary widely. Avoid promising dates before permits are in hand. Okay. During construction, keep the deal healthy. The client will make selections on time. This is what you need to do to kind of keep everybody on the same page. You need to prompt people to do things. Approve change orders in writing. Keep reserves available. Just remind them that they need to keep reserves available. Builder, schedules plus inspections plus draw requests. They're going to be doing that on their own. Communicate delays early. Hopefully they'll be doing that. Deliver the punch list and warranty. You don't have to be involved in any of that stuff. The agent, stay available as a comm coordinator. That's what I'm talking about. Help escalate communication when needed and document everything. Everything's done by email mostly these days. So make sure it stays that way. Make sure it stays not just, oh, the builder said this on the phone. And then the builder later will say, oh, I didn't tell you that, or I meant this, or, you know, something else. You just don't understand because you're not a builder. You wouldn't understand. So make sure it's in writing. Okay. Agent flow checklist. By the way, I don't know if you guys have heard this, but contractors have reputations right up there with attorneys and some realtors, unfortunately. But their contractors are known to get their money and not always deliver on time, or as they said they would, overpromise and underdeliver. So make sure that you're on top of that and you document everything. Agent workflow checklist. Intake. This is what we just talked about. This is what this whole thing has been about. The budget. This is talking to your client. The client intake. Talk to the budget. Utilities preference. Are they anti-well and septic? Well, then we better look for something else, right? We better look for something in a more established area that already has sewer and water. Pre-screen, that first couple of days, the zoning and access. That's before you write before you write the contract. You can get a lot of this information from the listing agent, right, or the seller. Zoning, access, flood, wetlands indicators, utilities. Builder fee. A lot of times the seller will already have stuff. Maybe the seller was even going to build on the lot before. A lot of times you'll see that seller was going to build and then they stopped, and so they already have a lot of this stuff. Builder feasibility check on top lots. So they will check it. The builder will. Right, protected offer with feasibility contingencies. A lot of times, by the way, a lot of times the client will already have their builder picked out, and then you're just selling the land and you let the client and the builder. If you ever have questions on this, let me know. If the client already has a builder and it's their best friend or their cousin or whatever, and they're going to work with this builder no matter what, you're not going to get 3% from the builder. You're not going to get anything for that. You're just going to set them up. You're going to help them find the lot that they need. Make sure, and they're going to talk to their builder, and the builder is going to say yay or nay. You're going to have very little to do with it. Okay. And that's great, except that you don't get the money. You only get the money from the lot. Okay. Write the protected offer with feasibility contingencies. Open escrow and order title and survey immediately. Schedule the septic, soil, wetlands consults as needed. This is, like I said, this is not you. This is the client, but you're making sure that they're doing this. Utility verification in writing. Summarize findings and updated site work range. Decision before deadline. Proceed, negotiate, renegotiate, and cancel. So they can also say, you know what, this is going to take so much site work. We're paying $250,000 for this lot, and it needs $70,000 in site work. Let's see if we can split that and, you know, renegotiate this thing down to $215,000, okay, or whatever that number is that makes sense. And the builder will be able to help with that as well. You align the lender and the builder in permitting next steps. And a lot of times, like I said, a lot of times this vacant land, the seller just wants to get rid of it. They don't have a ton of offers, and they'll be negotiable to some degree. Florida due diligence checklist. This is the handout that I gave you guys. Use the branded checklist PDF as the leave behind. Make sure your clients have that so they kind of know what everybody's responsibility is. There's no secrets in this. You know, I don't want you to have any secrets. I want the client to know what their responsibilities are and how much you're going to help, and you're going to tell them all that at the beginning. The legal lot and access, title, HOA restrictions, easements, zonings, build parameters, setbacks, flood and wetland indicators, utilities, all that stuff is important. And that's all on the due diligence checklist. Okay. And that's all done during the due diligence. If you can't get it done before the due diligence expires, negotiate more due diligence. You don't want to take a risk with this, or they're going to be the one holding the vacant lot that they couldn't build on and dying to get rid of it. Okay. What it covers: the well and septic pathway, site work, how to use it. Okay, let's go down to how to use it. It's all the same stuff, but how to use it. Order items day 1 and 2, track every contingency deadline, get confirmations in writing, never rely on verbal. I know this is the 4th time that we've talked about getting everything in writing because it's important. Okay, the wrap up: pre-screen early. Protect with the right contingencies. Treat due diligence like a project, plan with deadlines. Get feasibility and costs in writing before waiving contingencies. Just protect your client. Use the branded checklist on every land and build deal. All right. Now, I will check the chat. What kind of questions do you guys have? Let me have them. You just raise your hand. I'll get to everybody. I'll go through the chat as well until I see a raised hand. Oh, we got lots of good mornings. Okay. Feasibility studies are required, correct? Yeah, if you want to build the right way, it's a good idea. Like Brian said, it's a good idea. It's not required, just like an actual inspection is not required on an as is, but it's a darn good idea. And this is way more than that. I mean, you can, even if you don't do an inspection on the house, the client might be all right, right? Because the house is up and going, and you walked into the house and the air conditioning was running and it felt great and looked like it was a up and going house. Somebody lives there. Obviously, it's a house that functions. But a piece of land, I can't walk a piece of land and say you can build there. I don't have any idea. So feasibility studies are very, very, very important. All of these things are very, very, very important to have your client sitting there holding title to a piece of land they can't do. Thanks. So does the buyer or seller or lot or builder does? Okay, buyer. And everything is negotiable. And a lot of times the seller will have a lot of these things. They'll have a brand new survey. They'll have this. They almost build on it. They might even have plans. I've helped people buy lots of people. They already have building plans. And so, yeah, the buyer won't want the exact same house probably, but they'll be able to go off that and say, yeah, we could build this. We were permitted to build this. And so they just didn't build it. They got divorced. They got whatever. Like I said, people, this is the number 5 way to get divorced. And I made that up, but it's a good way to get divorced is to build a house together. How much the feasibility costs, different ones are different amounts, Maria. There's no way for me to tell, but it's going to cost a lot. Now you can hire a company that will do all your feasibility for you. Obviously they're going to charge more, because they're handling everything. But you can hire a company that will do all that for you. And some builders will do it and say, look, I'll do your feasibility study, but it's $15,000, $10,000, whatever it is. Early on, maybe slide 2 or 3, you mentioned something about partially reimbursed for something you built out of others build around you later. Would you clarify? That was a pioneering agreement for running utilities. That's a whole other subject, but you'll see this a lot of times. People don't do it a lot with single houses, but if I build a subdivision and they didn't have, and this happens all the time, and they didn't have water or sewer, for a mile down the road, I will pay to have the water and sewer run. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. But if you build a subdivision next to mine, which this happens all the time, you build a subdivision next to mine, you're going to pay me back a portion of what I spent on building that. And it might be by how many houses you're building. It might be on how much water or sewer you're going to use, whatever it is. It's called a pioneering agreement where I pay for it all up front, and then I get reimbursed back. Now I might have already sold all my lots, and the pioneering agreement might be good for 10 years. Anybody who builds there after that, the city will let them know there's a pioneering agreement, and you can't use the water or sewer unless you pay me back per the unit you're going to be doing. So I will build, I might only need a 6-inch line to serve my 200 homes that I'm building, but I'll put in a 12-inch line because I know other people are going to use it and they'll pay me back. I know that's way above what we want to talk about, getting in the weeds there. Okay, hey Ryan, all you discussed same applies to commercial vacant land as well, or there's other things to consider? Pretty much all applies to commercial vacant land as well, yes. Ryan, do you have recommended builders? Some, yeah, but it depends on the area and stuff. Not really. I mean, in some areas I do because I know the people personally, but that's just a personal thing. That's not in my role as sales director. That's in my experience. I have some people. I would rather you talk to builders and get a system with them where how you get paid 3% or whatever it is that you can get paid, and they put that into their estimate when they do it. Carolina had a question. Malvis had a question. Sorry, guys, I went through the chat. Malvis, I don't know where Carolina is. Malvis,
yeah. Okay, so my question, it might be a stupid question, and I think I kind of know the answer, but I ask you anyway. So for someone that wants to build a home and doesn't have the cash to buy the lot, obviously they have to get a construction to perm loan to be able to build on the lot. My question is, would that person be able to hire their own contractors and so that the bank can disperse the money to them when they do the job, or does that buyer has to hire a builder?
Great question. That is a great question, actually. They need to do a lot loan first, and then construction perm is when you already have the lot. But they'll do a lot loan first, and typically, just so you know, it's going to be about 35% down, typically 30 to 35% down on vacant land. For the same reason that if I'm the bank and I have to foreclose on it, I'm not going to get my money back unless I've got a low loan to value. Okay, so great question. I can build my own house. I can hire my own subs without being a licensed contractor. I cannot build your house hiring my own subs, not being a licensed contractor. So it's just like managing property. You can manage your own, but you can't manage other people's without going through a broker. I can't build your house without going through a general contractor.
But
okay? I can build my own house. I can build my own house. I can't build your house. You see what I mean?
Okay. But is that, I'm talking about, is that if so let's say I want to build my own house. Mm-hmm. I can be my own contractor, manage the people and do all that. But if I am financing the building, can I still do that? Or can I only do that if...
No, you don't have to pay cash for that. No, yeah, you can finance it. But the problem is a lender is going to want somebody who knows what they're doing. So you have to be careful with that. But yes, they will. Okay. If you have any experience doing it, or you have some kind of talk to a lender about that. But yes, you can build your own. You can legally build your own house, and I know people have done it, and I know they haven't paid all cash for it. So I assume that you can do it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. A friend of mine built his own house, and that's not what he does for a living. So I don't know. Somebody asked a question in chat. Listings. I have 3 potential listings. They're not clear lots. Location are 2 lots in North Point, Sarasota, and I'm Silver Springs area. Do I need a checklist to discuss with seller before I list? Not really. Get to know what they know. I would go over that checklist, say, do you have any of these things? Ask them if they have a recent survey, if they have anything, did they ever try to build on it? They ever want to build on it? So a lot of these contracts also say anything that the buyer does during their due diligence, if they don't buy the lot, they have to hand that over to the seller, which I would want as the seller as well. And I'm not sure if that's in the due diligence paragraph or if it's in the contract, but when you sell it, make sure you put that in there if it's not already in there. Anything that the buyer does, if they don't close on it, they have to hand over to the seller. Okay. So the seller will have some due diligence stuff to give to the next buyer. All right. So unlike an inspection on a house, I want that if I'm the seller, because I want to know all that stuff.
Does the seller have to reimburse that buyer?
No, absolutely not. No, it's just like the inspection, just like your seller. If I sell you my house and you do the inspection and you don't like the house and we go our separate ways, I don't have to pay you back for the inspection. It's the same thing.
Right? Yeah, but the seller's asking for it. So
no. Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, that's part of the contract. As part of the contract, you have to hand it over to me. Okay. So I'm giving you 45 days to mess around with my property. You don't need that inspection for anything. And if I write, by the way, if I write that in an as is, that if you do an inspection and you don't buy the property, you have to give me the inspection, and you sign the contract, then you have to give me the inspection. You don't charge me for it.
Oh, okay.
Of course, sellers don't want I don't want the inspection if I'm the listing agent and you didn't buy it. I don't want to find new stuff that may or may not be true about the house that I have to disclose to somebody else. Okay. So what portion of the whole project start to finish does the agent get paid a commission? Okay. If you just sell the lot, you get paid at closing of the lot. If like I said, if they bring their builder in and, I got this guy, I've already got my own builder, I'm just looking for a lot, can you help me? Then you're only going to get paid for the lot. If you work with the builder, then you get paid when it closes, you get paid 3% or 2%, whatever you negotiate with the builder. And if you talk to a builder and they won't pay an agent, then find another builder. It's like if I have a referral and I call Carolina and I want to refer it to her, and she says, well, I only give 15% of referrals. And I call Jacques, and Jacques says, I give 30% for referral. Okay. I'm Jacques, you got a new customer, right? So that's how that works. And you guys get called on because your faces are on here. Sorry about that. It's usually just Tammy. No problem. All right. So any further questions? per Mike's question, what's the commission based off of? Oh, you're going to have, it's just like selling a house. Selling the land is just like selling a house. They're going to offer a buyer side commission, or they're not. Put it in the contract, just like you do for houses now. Just put it in there and say, I want, 3%. I want whatever. You'll have a buyer brokerage agreement if it's in the MLS. I don't care that there's not a building on it. You still have a buyer's brokerage agreement, and you do that. But what about when cost changes? Oh, well, so I assume that you're going to work out, the builder is going to say it's on the base price, just like they do at Lennar or Pulte or anywhere else you go. It's going to be on the base price, and you're going to say, "Oh my gosh, my buyer spent $750,000, but I'm only getting commission on $580." Yeah, because they spent $170 in the design center. Oh, you wanted grass in your lawn? Oh, you wanted washer and dryer? Oh, you wanted granite countertops? You wanted flooring? Oh, that's going to cost you more. So you know how that works. Yeah, it's typically going to be on base price. If you can get them to do on out the door price, then that's great. Some builders aren't particularly, some of them don't know much about that. And so they're just adding 3% to whatever they get, whatever they think they'll get from it. And so they don't mind paying on everything. Some builders are more savvy about it than others. There you go. But if a client brings their own builder, obviously you're not going to get paid anything on that. And you're just helping them find the right lot, and the rest of it's up to them. All right. Any other questions? Any questions about anything? It's that time. It doesn't have to be about lots. It can be about anything at FRI or anything in the real estate world. No? All right, guys. Well, hopefully this all, so the whole point of this stuff is a little different than anything we've ever done, in that I'm giving you the slide deck so you can use it with your client. I don't care if you go through this with your client. It's absolutely fine with me. Daryl is on here. I have a builder I can refer. He builds within 50 miles or so from Orlando in the 400 to 2 million range. He's built 2 homes for my client. Send me a message. There you go. Send Daryl a message. Daryl, if you don't mind, Daryl's on our Facebook page as well. You'll see him on there. You can find him on Facebook and send him a message. But Daryl, you want to put your email there, we'll have people contact you. For the most part, good luck building below 400 right now. This is typically for people who, you don't get a lot of people, first-time home buyers, wanting to buy a $25,000 lot and spend $250 on a home. People will do that. You'll get builders who will ask you to find that for them, and absolutely find it for them. But realize you're only going to get paid on the $25,000. But you can talk to the builder. If the builder wants to do this, and you say, "Hey, if I find you a good $25,000 lot, you pay me $5,000, right?" Or whatever. Otherwise, find your own lot. You know what I mean? So, because you're not getting paid a lot. Yeah, 400s in St. Cloud. That makes sense. Interest rate changes. Typically, construction perms a little more, but not bad. It's just not as easy as a FHA or something. But it's a little more, but not bad. Any good changes to the market? How are people doing? Well, the Florida Realtor says that January was a good month and that things are looking up. So that's what we see as well in the office. So hopefully that's what you guys are seeing out there. Interest rates, people are posting that they are, even the average interest rate now is under, on a conventional is under 6. FHA's been under 6. VA's been under 6. Paul came on here, told you that most people, and this was before, we're getting in the 5.75 area, 5.5 to 5.75. So it's been under 6, but now the national average is under 6. So that means almost everybody's getting under 6, even for conventional. FHA should be well under 6 now. And they've been going up and down a tiny bit, but haven't been changing much. If you guys are getting Paul's emails, you see that. All right. Well, if we don't have any further questions, you guys asked me, Daryl, okay, he did put in, use my old one, downtowndaryl@gmail. If you guys have anything else, let me know now. All right, guys. Well, it is, what other announcements do we have? If you got your headshots last week, you should be hearing, I've been getting these questions. You should be hearing from Alexi this week. Some people already have. I have not, but you should be getting them sometime this week. And that's all I have. All right. Oh, reach out to your clients, the ones you sold a house last year. The deadline is the 28th to get their homestead exemption is the 28th. And it does take a little bit of time. So they do have to have certain documents and stuff. So make sure you get it to them now where they have time. They have 10 days from right now. It's a great reason to reach out to them. What's going on with you guys? What's next for you? Hey, is your daughter still thinking about moving down to Florida? Is your mom still thinking about moving to Florida? Whatever it was, right? Talk to those people and do that. Great to see you guys all today. Jacques, you look like an angel with your halo above your head. I love your camera angle. Looks good. I will see you guys. I will see you guys soon. Let me know. I got to get one of those halos. Let me know if you need anything. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Save the checklist. Save the presentation we went through for your clients, and you can go through that. You can adjust it a little bit. You guys, if you have PowerPoint, put it in your PowerPoint. You can delete slides and stuff like that. Make yourself an editor. You can delete some slides. You can change some slides if you want to make it more your own. You want to take out some of the agent only stuff. There's a little bit of stuff in there that's kind of beyond what they need to know. But it's not bad. It shows that you know what you're doing, and that's the important thing. You want it to show what the agent will do and not do for you, because they need to know that. They need to know their expectations. Setting the expectations is, if you want them to be your client in the future, you want to set their expectations where they're happy with you at the end of this thing. And when they go to sell this house in 10 years, I'll say, instead of 5 to 7, I'll say 10, because they built this thing. They're going to want to live there a while. Then you're going to want to make sure that they're happy with you. And when you want all their relatives to be referred to you, all their friends to be referred to you, you want them to be happy with you. So set expectations. That's the most important thing you can leave here today knowing, is to set expectations. Don't put too much on yourself. Make sure you're guiding them, not doing it for them, because that's where you bring on responsibility that you shouldn't have. You're not a professional builder. This isn't what you do. And don't be afraid to, maybe you want to find some diligence companies. And when I say that, some of these environmental engineers will take you through the whole process. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you can use it. I hope you feel more comfortable selling land. When people approach you and they say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a lot and stuff, the first thing goes through you guys' minds is, that's not a lot of commission, and that's a lot of work I don't really know about. And your face probably shows it. Now you can be confident, you can be competent, you can do all the things that you need to do to get these clients. All right. Take care, guys. I'll see you next week. Anything special you guys want to know, I'm taking requests on trainings. If there's anything you guys want to be trained on, those of you who are Spanish first, we're going to have a Spanish translation of this as well. So we will, I'll guide you to that when we get it. Don't rush me on it, because I'm not in charge of it. Somebody else is doing it. So I will get that to you when it becomes available. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Yolanda, at the buzzer, what can I do for you?
There you go. Okay, good afternoon. I'm sorry, good morning. It's still morning. I just sold my land, almost 2 years sitting on it. Closing next Tuesday. But I was going to request a topic: loopholes.
Loopholes.
Loopholes in the leasing contracts and the addendums.
Okay, well, there's
Disclosures.
supposed to be loopholes, and I'm not going to share with you all my loopholes I know about. I'm kidding. We'll talk about that. So yeah, email me that, please. Email me that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. It is still morning. You guys take care. I will see you next week, and we'll have a different subject for you. Hopefully a good one. Bye, everybody.